What is a white paper? White papers are commonly referenced in the crypto space, right? Where they use it to describe the project. I've been reading through multiple white papers per week for a while now, and I get a good understanding of the space as well as the individual projects. And one thing that is abundantly clear is that there's a lot of issues with these white papers. But what makes a white paper good, and what makes a white paper shitty? What should be included in a white paper? I wanted to talk about that in this video so that if you're new in crypto and you're like, hey, I might start investing some of my resources that I work for into crypto, then you should probably have an understanding of where you put your money. Not probably, you should. Don't be like everybody else on the planet who just puts their money into shit that they don't know about. So you are going to take the responsibility on your shoulders and actually read through white papers. And this can also help people who are developing for Web3 and they're coming out with their own white papers or working on a team or want to be on a team for people who come out with white papers. So with that being said, if this is your first time here, what's good, Jay? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to freaking see you. If anybody wants to support the channel, you can check out some links down below, shop.letstalkpeds.com, shop.letstalkpeds.com for some cool stuff. So what is a white paper, right? So we're going to get into this. We're going to get into a prospectus, and then we're going to get into some notes that I've been taking here around white papers and the many white papers that I read. You can check out the channel where I kind of do a deep dive on these projects after I read through the white papers. Because there's so many issues, right? You read through a white paper and there's grammatical issue after grammatical issue. They're not clear, all this kind of stuff. But we're going to get into that in a moment. So let's see what Google has to say about a white paper. Cryptocurrency white paper. A crypto white paper contains various forms of data like statistics, diagrams, and formulas. The goal of this data is to convince prospective investors to invest in that cryptocurrency. For any crypto startup, releasing a white paper is a way to be considered professional and legitimate, right? So I think a lot of people who are releasing white papers are trying to be considered professional and legitimate, and then they're like, all I need is a thing that I call a white paper for me to be considered professional and legitimate, because they will be like, hey, I got to create a white paper for my crypto project. Let's take a look here for a second. Crypto white paper. What is a crypto white paper? Look at the second example that comes up here. Crypto white paper example. Best crypto white papers, right? How do you get an idea of what a good crypto white paper is? Or know what's in crypto white papers? Or be able to distinguish if a crypto white paper is a good crypto white paper or it's a shitty crypto white paper? By reading crypto white papers. It's pretty simple. And that's what I've been doing. And so a lot of people I see doing this to try to get this, right? They're trying to put out a white paper, shitty as fuck, to convince people to put their money into something, because then they can say they have a white paper, because they know a bunch of you fuckers will never actually read their white paper, even though it's trash. So let's get into this a little bit more. Prospectus. Coming from legacy finance, prospectus is going to be, actually let's find a prospectus for now. Let's say prospectus for mutual, let's see, SPY. This is going to be the prospectus, hopefully, for the SPY S&P 500. Okay, let's see. SPDR, the S&P 500 ETF trust. It looks like this might be in Singapore, right? So this is 125 pages, right? And yes, a lot of this is garbage and for regulatory purposes, but it is very thorough, very clear about what this ETF trust is going to do, right? The SPDR 500 trust. What is this thing going to do? How does it operate? who's involved, all of the details. Why is this an issue? How is this solving this problem, right? So this is what a traditional, this was released this year in legacy, right? A unit investment trust constituted outside Singapore and organized in the United States, right? So a lot of times you can use these things to get around regulations, but it's kind of what's happening in crypto right now. You can get around regulations by doing that, right? Okay, so prospectus. This is what the traditional definition of is that I think crypto white paper should be at least, using as a slight bit of a framework to get this. And we're going to get to my thoughts on this in a second. A prospectus in finance is a disclosure document that describes a financial security for potential buyers. And you're like, wait, crypto is not a financial security. Bro, it's a financial security. Get over it. Whether the law rules that way or not, it's a financial security in the way that 97% of projects are launching. Like, it is what it is. You might think differently, but you just gotta fucking open your eyes, bro. It commonly provides investors with material information about mutual funds, stocks, bonds, and other investments. Oh yeah, kind of like this one here, right? Talking about the stocks, right? And how the trust is set up to actually invest in stocks. Such as a description of the company's business. Now pay attention to this, right? A description of the business, financial statements, biographies of officers and directors, detailed information about their compensation. Whoa, look at that statement there. Detailed information about their compensation. Any litigation that is taking place, a list of material properties, and any other material information. What is material information, guys? If you've studied accounting or finance or legal, material information, actually, let's look it up. Oh, it's so weird. I had a tab open ready for this one. Material information means information for which there is a substantial likelihood that a reasonable investor would consider important in making investment decisions. Interesting. You think a lot of these rug pulls, you think a lot of these garbage white papers include material information, or do you think they exclude material information? Right? And one area that these white papers don't cover in detail, because they think it's somehow going to be negative, and in reality this is where the value is. Detailed information about their compensation. How are the people involved in the project going to get paid? Do you think if you're going to invest in a business with me, Sam Stolt, I'm like, hey bro, why don't you invest in my business, right? Like I just told you, shop.lextalkpeds.com, right? You know what? That's my business. You know who makes money if you buy shit on there? I do. I just don't want you to buy one thing, but it's my fucking business, right? It's nice to know how somebody makes money. And when you're not clear about that and you're trying to raise money versus like selling a product, a lot of these things are dropping the ball massively. They could have so much more success by just doing some of the things in this article. Let's move on to the rest of this thing. In the context of an individual security offering, such as initial public offering, oh, it's so weird. They just changed the vernacular. So they're going to call it crypto, and they're not going to call it a security, right? At least the group of people watching this. And instead of a initial public offering, an IPO, they're going to call it an ICO, right? Or they're going to be like, ours is not an IPO. We're giving it away for free. Whatever the fucking story you need to tell yourself to justify your fucking beliefs, bro. A prospectus is distributed by underwriters, brokers, or potential investors. Today, prospectuses are most widely distributed through websites like Edgar. So Edgar is like a site you can also look up financial statements on. Okay, so this is on Wikipedia. Another site is Investopedia. I just want to look through this top paragraph here, and then we're going to get into some of my notes here. What is a prospectus? A prospectus is a formal document that is required by and filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission that provides details about an investment offering to the public. A prospectus is filed for offering stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. The prospectus can help investors make more informed investment decisions because it contains most of the relevant information about the investment or security. Yes, this is exactly true. Now, the key takeaways, this is all I'm going to read here. Key takeaways. The SEC requires the security issuers file a prospectus when offering investment securities to the public. Okay, cool. You can launch a project anytime you want without one of these. The prospectus provides details about the investment security and the offering. Some white papers do a decent job at that. A mutual fund prospectus contains details on the investment objectives. This is such a good line here that a lot of white papers completely drop the ball on. Mutual fund prospectus contains details on investment objectives, strategies, performance, distribution policies, fees, and fund management. Wow, like I could just stop the video right there and just be like, bro, use this as your template for creating a white paper. It needs to have all of this shit in there. The risks, and this is something that I haven't seen one white paper include. Not one white paper. The risks of investment are typically disclosed early in the prospectus and then explained in more detail later in the document. This has not been in one white paper that I've read. And I've probably read maybe 30 white papers, right? And reading new white papers. I read one this morning that I wanted to do a video on, and I was like, oh my God, this is so trash. Like I can't even do a video on this because it's such garbage. Like the white paper is so trashy. Like there was one that I read a couple days ago, and it was utter garbage. It says one thing here, and then you go on their site, you go over to the white paper, it says something different. It says they're going to distribute 100% of the profits here, and it says they're going to distribute 90% over here. Like, just be fucking clear. And that is the first note on here. The first note that I wrote. The prospectuses, because that's what they are. You can call them white paper. You can say you can change the name or whatever and just call it a white paper. The prospectus is missing a massive amount of data. Massive. Not clear. On multiple fronts. Whatsoever. And one thing that they don't do is, right, you have a lot of fucking nerds writing these. Clearly. Because they're not very well written. And I don't mean this as a negative to nerds, right? Because I'm a nerd in my own way. Right? Like, who the fuck reads 30 white papers for fun? Right? Like, I'm not saying that as a negative thing. But reading through white papers, you can clearly see that they are not trying to make them simple, right? When you want to get adoption, right? So in order for prices to go up, what needs to happen? Demand needs to increase. How does demand increase? Adoption. So how do you get adoption for the lowest common denominator of people? They need to understand it has to be simple. It has to be super simple. Talk to like you're talking to your grandmother. And remember, like if you're a nerd, right? Because I'm a nerd in my own way. Everybody is probably, most people are. If you do things like I'm doing here, as in talking to a camera, right, speaking into a microphone, you get a clear advantage in the sense that when you describe an idea, a thought, and try to capture the essence of an argument in a succinct way to present it to somebody else, the audience behind the camera here, when you do this every day, and I have another YouTube channel that'll come up at the end related to fitness stuff. So when you do this kind of stuff every day, you have such a big advantage because the first time you read through a white paper, you are like, oh, cool, this is good. This gives a lot of information. And then you read through 5 and you're, oh, wow, some of these are way better than others. And then you read through 36 of them, right? And you're like, oh, wow, most of these are trash, right? and they're not clear at all. So you get an advantage by doing these things multiple times. And the people who are writing these just don't seem like they have a lot of this experience, especially when, so simply put, not being able to succinctly put together a thought or clearly put together all the pieces of a thought, just putting together a tiny bit of it instead of actually explaining it. And then there's just grammatical errors everywhere, like everywhere, right? And if you're trying, if you have to do one of these things, right, the prospectus and legacy, you know how many times this has to go through a review process to get like published? The people who are writing white papers, I don't even think they're reviewing them themselves. They're like, let me type this shit out. Okay, done. Publish. Like, review your shit. It'll help you be more successful. Now, so somebody's describing a token, like, so I just put down a little bit of an example here. A token that you can also stake. Okay, cool. You're like a lot of fucking tokens, right? Why is this an issue? Like, what issue is this token trying to fill? Where is the hole in the marketplace that allows your token to sit in this hole and solve this problem? And why is it so? How does your token fulfill this need, and why is it there? Kind of thing. Describing that. What exactly makes this thing better than the previous thing, right? So I was reading them this morning, and it references the existing state of the nation, right? One thing that I really like is having sharp knives. I meal prep a lot, right? Because I enjoy the gym, so I meal prep a lot. And having a sharp knife is important to me. I like having sharp knives, right? So when I don't have a sharp knife, cutting through meat, which I cut up a lot of meat, is it's just not as easy, right? It's more of a pain in the butt. So having a sharp tool to use is super important to me. So describing what the thing is, right? Like, hey, most people don't have sharp knives, and well, most people don't cook, right? So maybe this is a bad example, but for the people who do cook, the appreciation for a sharp knife is very high. And yet there's nobody out there who is making sharp knives, right? So we are coming out with this token that is just fucking sharp knives, period, right? Like, just think about these things before you actually put them out there. What makes your shit better than what's available? How is it solving that problem? Well, because we are actually sharpening our things every 2 weeks so that it always keeps a crisp edge on it, right? Whatever it is, it needs to be articulated, because these papers are trash. Same thing with the staking. Where is the benefit coming from? There was such a good line in here, I think it was. Material properties. Okay. Detailed information about compensation. Okay. This goes to like the people involved. Like, how are the people involved getting compensated? Is there a vesting period? Is it just going all at once? How many people are on the team? You people in crypto don't want to like give out their name and shit like that, right? So you're like, okay, cool, that's perfectly fine. How many people are on the team? How is this going to be split up? Can they dump their shit right away? Is there admin keys? Is the supply fixed? How is it going to be distributed? How is the staking going to work? Where is the fees or the benefit to the staking protocol? Because this is compensation not just for the team, but also compensation for the staking people, right? We're talking about all of these things, right? And the more you talk about these things, the better the project will be, the better the white paper will be. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm just like tired of reading shitty white papers, so I was like, let me do this paper. If you found this helpful, make sure you take a second, share this with somebody else who's working on a team that is doing white papers. If they want help, maybe I can come on as a consultant or just give my thoughts on something, right? Because I'm not doing anything like that, but I'm reading these papers and I'm seeing how shitty they are. They should definitely recommend them. But share this with people so that they can at least improve their white paper and hopefully create more success in this crypto space. If you understand the adoption curve of where we are in crypto right now, we're at around 3.5% of the global population in crypto. Crypto's following an adoption curve, an S adoption curve. Starts out slow, ramps up faster and faster and faster until it's almost vertical in terms of the people adopting crypto. And the one way it accelerates this growth is by making better white papers, because then you get better projects and you get more informed investors to make more informed decisions. So that is why I'm making this paper. So if you know somebody on a team, if you know somebody who's thinking about getting into crypto, tell them to check this video. Check, is it an immutable code, right? Can they change it with admin keys? Is there a fixed supply? How is that fixed supply tokens going to be distributed? Where is it going to go? How is the team compensated? How exactly does the staking work on this? Are they mentioning anything about liquidity? If the team's getting any, is it going to be vested? Is this a closed protocol, meaning it's done and over with, it's completely immutable when it's done? Or is there a roadmap? How is the roadmap going to work? How are the risks and what are the risks involved here? All of these things need to be like outlined for you to feel comfortable. Otherwise, you're just gambling with your money. And you've been doing that for years. Don't do that. It's not an intelligent strategy to build wealth in the long run. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to check out my other shit. There's another YouTube channel here. You can click over to that channel. Say what's good. If you want to support, there's some links down below, as well as Instagram and Twitter. Growing on both of those things. Instagram has a lot more fitness related content. Twitter is a little bit of everything, but a lot more crypto related content. So talk to you soon. Peace.